Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My 8th grade physical science. I am back. We're going to start chapter 4. This is all about heat and thermal energy. Heat is a flow, thermal energy is the total kinetic energy. So when you think of the word heat, I'm sure most of you think of like this is the time of year we turn your heater on, or a fire is usually often come up with it, or something like that. Your vocab word should have been done. Let's talk about thermal energy and thermal energy as opposed to heat. The reading for this section is 103 to 108, and the classroom will be where your questions are at. So when you think of heat, most people think of fire or something that's hot, or hot coffee, hot chocolate, something getting hot. Temperature depends on the particle movement. All matter is made of particles. Everything has kinetic energy until you hit absolute zero. We've talked about that in previous chapters. Atoms are always vibrating in place. Even in the solid, they're still vibrating, even if it's just a little tiny bit. In liquids, they vibrate enough that they can move around, and in gases, they're bouncing all over the place. Particles have to move about. The kinetic theory of matter states that all particles that make up matter are constantly in motion. As a result, all particles in matter have kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is of each individual particle, so it's very hard to see the particles, so we have to work around it. But the particles of a solid are still vibrating, the particles of a liquid are moving, and in a gas, they're so spread apart that they hardly can collide until they hit this container that they're in. Temperature and kinetic energy. We can't measure how fast every single particle in my cup of coffee is moving. We can take the temperature of my cup of coffee. By using temperature, you're actually taking the average. So you add up the highs and the lows, and you'll get an in-between number. Like when you average your test, you take the number you got right out of the possibility. That gives you the average. The average kinetic energy is higher when the temperature is higher. Hot water has a higher kinetic energy. If it's cold water, it has a much lower kinetic energy. Temperature can be measured with a thermometer. A thermometer works on something called thermal expansion. Freezing and boiling points were the original setup of a thermometer. On the Celsius thermometer, freezing of water is 0, the boiling of water is 100. On a Fahrenheit thermometer, which we use here in Pennsylvania and in the United States in general, freezing point of water is 32 and the boiling point is 212. Now Fahrenheit had a really crazy way that he made his thermometer, in that he took the lowest temperature he could get by using ice and salt and then made that 0 and then just started going up. Whereas Celsius based his on the meter and 100 nice increments between the temperature at which water freezes and boils. How do thermometers work? A thermometer works because as liquids get warmer or colder, they either expand or contract. This is called thermal expansion. The red liquid in a thermometer is actually just a type of alcohol with a dye in it so you can see it. And as a certain temperature, it'll expand. It's a very thin, like a capillary tube inside a thermometer. And as this expands, it actually goes up. When it loses kinetic energy, those particles do not. They slow down and they actually contract. So in a thermometer, you have the main tube, and then there's always a reservoir of some kind at the bottom. And inside there, you have this red liquid, and there's increments on the side. As the red liquid goes up the tube, you simply measure it. So this could be 0, 10, 20, maybe this is 25. Today we also have different types of thermometers. The ones that we use here in school actually read the infrared signal on your forehead. You can get electronic thermometers that actually have different types of chemicals and they have different types of electronic properties. So you have different connectivities at different temperatures, and that's what measures the temperature for something like this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this lesson. Remember, thermal energy and temperature are not the same thing. Thermal energy is the total, while kinetic energy, and then the temperature is the average kinetic energy. Thermometers work by thermal expansion, and make sure you get your work done. Be good, be safe. I'm Mr. Hescox, signing out.